Hey, hello. Hey, hey everyone. I'm just gonna give a few more people a chance to join us before we get started and before we start talking. Hey, Jayla. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that some of y'all share your time and space with me. I really am grateful. So y'all just be patient a few more minutes. I'm gonna tell y'all that it seems like everyone around me in my general vicinity is really feeling. Thanks. It's time to get some color on here. So I'm going to tell y'all, everyone in my surroundings and my area have just been wild, like chaotic, breaking down on all kinds of levels. And it has been challenging to watch everyone I love fall apart. But I knew that this energy was coming into the plane, and I've been telling y'all, like, we need to be healed. We need to be the best versions of ourselves. And I have a message today, but okay, I think I can go ahead and get started. Y'all, if y'all have never seen me today, before today, my name is Erica. I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit. Now, every time before I go live, I set an intention that I be led in these conversations and that the ancestors and the energy guide me into a place that needs to be spoken into existence. So I want to talk about some alignments that are going on. Thanks, Philip. It's like we're on the same page here. So I want to talk to y'all, okay? But before I get started, I'm just going to tell y'all a little bit about myself. Some of y'all have already heard it, and some of y'all haven't. Hey, Miss Joan. But I'm grateful for y'all sharing time and space with me today, because I think it's really important to get this message out. So I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about myself. My name is Erica, and about 10 years ago, I was placed on hospice with a rare, incurable, terminal illness called Shy-Drager syndrome or multi-system atrophy. I was fully expected to pass away within 6 months to a year. During that time, I journaled incessantly. I made videos to leave behind for my kids. I made plans. I had everything put in place. I had, I really didn't have anything to give away, but I gave things away that I wanted certain people to have. And I made all the preparations to pass away within that year. I didn't give it too much of my time and energy and my focus, but I knew that I was really sick. And as I laid bedridden some days, I would do as I made a choice that I would get up out of bed every single day. And that mindset saved my life. So I already got this rare opportunity to live like I was dying, okay? And then after that year comes and goes and I didn't die, I decided that I had two choices: to give up and just give in, let the disease take over my body and just let it progress. Or I could give it all I had and try just whatever to, kind of heal myself and take back some of my life. And I began these new experimental treatments that made me healthy enough to carry and deliver a child. And at the time of her birth, in my C-section, she came out of, she was delivered via C-section, and I passed away on the table. And they quickly resuscitated me and took me to a room and were watching me. And 2 hours after my birth, giving birth, I lost all the blood in my body and lost my life. And a lot of things happened within that minute that I was dead. I was in between worlds and places, and I don't really go into detail about what happened, but what I do say is that it was the most beautiful, sacred, loving, passionate experience that I had ever felt as a human being. And the only thing that I have that's halfway comparable to losing my life was giving life. And so while giving life to a human is extremely beautiful, and all of these, it's a sacred experience, and so too is losing life. So here's what I want to tell y'all. I've been telling y'all for years now that this is a historical time. This is a historical space that we've all agreed to be in. And whether you realize it or not, we have all had a loss of life experience. You will feel that again one day, and it's nothing to be scared of. I often look to my ancestors for guidance and connection, because I was connected with them in a way that I didn't know was possible when I passed away. Because the way that I was taught to believe was that when you're dead, and you wait on Jesus to raise you up out of the ground or some kind of thing. And I don't know now looking back at that, I don't know how I ever held on to that belief system. I don't know how that ever served me in a way that was beneficial. So here's what I want to say today. Okay, I have this note, and I'm going to read it to y'all. Most of the time I speak just off the cuff and just say, unless I'm given something very specific. And the planets are always aligned. But there is this rare thing that's happened over the last couple of days, and I never realized that planetary alignments and cosmic events could impact us so much. And I don't know why I never really grasped that, because my whole life I have been living by the farmer's almanac, like when to wean your baby and when to potty train and when to cut your hair for growth, when to wean the goats. The farmer's almanac guides me in so many ways, and I guess I never realized that is directly based on an ancient knowledge and an ancient wisdom of planetary alignments and cosmic events and the constellations being in a certain spot in the sky. So this is a really important time to call back your energy and to call back your power and to take whatever you've been given away, call it back to yourself. Look, I cannot tell you enough. I'm going to be really vulnerable today and just tell you that people in my family, people I care about, people I really love, my brother, my stepson, are struggling. My mother, all of these people are struggling to keep up with the energy because they have not done the hard work of healing. Look, healing, if it was easy, then everyone would do it, but it's not an easy thing, and it's not easy to put yourself out to people on a platter and say, here I am, look at me and accept me or move away from me. And I'm going to tell y'all something that it's going to be difficult for us, because I've been telling y'all that there's coming a quite literal split. And I've seen this for years, like a vision of new earth, and I never knew what that really meant. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's here, and it is a mindset. It's a way. Look, it doesn't mean that we're not ever going to face challenges, but it means that a group of us and a collective are going to be aligned in a way that is divine, that is sacred again. we're going to be aligned with our truest selves, our highest selves, in a way that we have longed for since the beginning of time. The earth has always been abundant and given us everything that we needed, but there have been people, there have been entities and energies who have taken more than their fair share. And so I want to encourage you during this planetary alignment to call back your power, to take back and to see through the illusions that have kept us divided and fearful and controlled. See, we're on the same wavelength here. I do have a letter that I'm going to read to y'all. It's not really a letter, but it's something that I wrote. And I know that it was through a channel, so I wrote it down so I would not forget any of the words. In nature, every organism, whether a tree, a river, or a bird, plays a role by staying true to its essence. A tree grows based on its environment, but it never tries to be anything other than a tree. It doesn't strive to be a flower or a rock. It simply grows into the best version of itself, rooted in the truth of what it is. It does support the other trees in the ecosystem, but it doesn't rush its process, nor does it try to hide its flaws. It grows through its seasons. It's shedding, blooming, and regrowing, reminding us that healing is a continuous process. Each leaf that falls is part of a natural cycle, contributing to the soul that nurtures the next generation. In the political realm, and as citizens, this analogy holds immense significance. Just as a tree cannot ignore its growth cycle, individuals cannot ignore the importance of emotional and psychological healing. When we are not our authentic selves, when we suppress our truth or carry unresolved trauma, it's as if we were trying to grow in a way that isn't natural. This leads to dysfunction, like a tree that is stunted because its roots aren't deep enough, or a river blocked by debris that cannot flow freely. For this political climate and this day, authenticity is the foundation for healthy engagement. Politicians, citizens, institutions, and even businesses that act from a place of truth and healing bring clarity and transparency to systems. When we choose to be authentic, we are in touch with our values, our struggles, and even our aspirations. And just like a tree reaches for the sun in its own unique way, we too must reach for us politically, socially, and personally. Ultimately, we need to recognize that more healed and the more authentic we are, the more we contribute to a world that's balanced, equitable, and in tune. Just like nature works in balance, we must, with our hearts, our minds, and our actions. We should nurture ourselves, heal, and allow ourselves to grow in the most authentic version of who we are. For in doing so, we foster a world that is healthier, more harmonious, and more just. So, okay, I knew that was going to happen. Look, it's just, it never fails that when I have a really important have a really important, powerful message, it will freeze or there will be interruptions. It never fears. I can read it again, but I think I'm just going to take a picture of it and post it so you can pause it and read it. But it never fails that when there is a message that needs to come through or something that's really important, it's getting blocked and it's freezing. Am I still freezing? Am I still being... I don't know if y'all are being able to hear me or not. It's so frustrating. It's like... Do y'all want me to read it again? Okay, so it's good now. Look, I have like 7 calls back to back, and I was trying to... Let's read it again and see what's... I think I'm gonna leave this, okay? Look, it's important though. I feel like the gist of the message is to act in a way that is very authentic and true to yourself. Look, there are going to be plants into this movement because for millennia, indigenous people and ancient people have known about the prophecies that will come to pass. And we are living in a historical time. And I was told that in future this will be referred to as the Great Awakening of the Pleistocene era or the Evolution Revolution. And there's a lot of things that are happening. And I just need you to understand that when chaos happens all around you and you see people reacting from a place of fear and division and the unhealed parts of themselves, know that that's their journey and it's not your responsibility. Yes, you can talk to that person. Yes, you can encourage that person to do the hard work, but you can't do the hard work for them. And that's the hardest thing as a human and within this human experience, that we can't give healing. We can't give authenticity to someone. But what we can do is give unconditional love and unwavering support. So what does this look like? Does this mean that we are going to keep giving our time and energy into these people who are not healed? No. This means unconditional love is thrown back to yourself also. Okay, so we have to offer ourselves the same amount of love and compassion and grace that we offer so freely to everyone else. And I'm going to be really open and vulnerable and raw right now and tell you that I see everyone around me in situations that are chaotic and unhealed and messy as fuck. They are messy, okay? They are toxic. They are... My brother is going through this thing that he's an alcoholic and he likes to blame life events and past trauma on this. And he had a seizure on my front porch. Well, it was in October. And my children saw this. And I told him at that point that I love myself enough now. And I love my children enough to tell him that until he gets help. And until I see him acting out of a place of helping himself, that I was no longer going to be available to him. And whatever you want to do, this is your journey. It is not for someone else to judge you on how you act. My mother is pushing me into this relationship, and you know, we have to set boundaries, and this may seem harsh, but I'm not going to let Okay, I'm going to say this. It takes years and years to build up confidence, just like it takes years and years to heal. And it takes seconds to undo that confidence. It takes seconds to destroy that healing. Do not put yourself in that situation. I know that I'm being given these scenarios in my own life to share, because there are a lot of people right now acting from a place of unhealed and past traumas. When I look at our world's leaders, I can even see them as wounded children. I see that little boy that didn't get enough love and affection and reassurance that he was special in his own way. And he didn't have to be president to be loved. So many people have used him, and look, it's not lost on me that we are all recovering. We are all recovering from different things. Being a people pleaser, being alcoholics, being drug addicts, being from being indoctrinated. The list goes on and on. We all have healing to do. And whenever you have done that healing, look, there's this huge duality that exists. And we understand that a lot of this is just a show created for us, right? But a lot of it is a journey and a path and a road. No one can walk that road for you. Miss Joan, I didn't know that. Thank you for that. Thanks. Look, I have felt really, it's impacted my whole family dynamic. Me finally saying no. Because when it got too hard for my mother, I took up and would pick him and run him. And he's not well. He's not doing well. He's been septic in the hospital, and then he walked out with IVs, and I'm not regressing. I'm not reverting. So please don't do that to yourself. If I can tell you that I'm strong enough to do it, I have spent my whole life bending over backwards, thinking about everyone else's needs before my own. And part of that is like this maternal instinct that I've always had, like to nurture and to take care of. But I just told my daughter last night, I'm sorry. It's really tough going through it. And it doesn't mean that when you're a healed version that you will not face challenges and you won't have obstacles to overcome, because the universe and life itself is cyclical in nature. We go through cycles, we ebb and we flow. And there's this constant thing that sometimes I wonder if the work I'm doing is causing all this chaos and trying to be interrupted. It's not lost on me that every time I have these revelations that something will happen in my personal life to knock me off my feet a little bit. But I'm accepting this as a lesson and a story to share with others. I'm accepting this as part of my story so that I can share it with others and that it might help you on your journey. This is really tough. I told my daughter last night, my oldest daughter, because my stepson, who is my son, I've pretty much, he came to live with us whenever he was 10, and I pretty much don't even say stepson. He's just my son. Is really struggling to be an adult. And my other son is getting married, has a baby, is working and doing all the things that we're supposed to do, right? That we're programmed to think that we were going to do. And so it's really hard because I had a conversation with Thomas this morning and we were talking about when was it that because in other parts of the world, it was really interesting how I started reading this book called Hunt, Gather, Parent. And this was before I even knew I was pregnant with Olive. But I started reading this book, and it's by this anthropologist who has studied children around the world because she saw her toddler. And then when she would see these toddlers in other parts of the world, she realized how balanced they were. But it was because they weren't immediately told that they shouldn't be sleeping with a child. And the child spends a huge amount of time with that parent, watching everything that parent does. And they co-sleep. And you know, even children will be an adult and go back and live with the parents. And then so in this part of the world, in the United States, there's this thing where families are separated, and then, you know, we go on about our lives. And I guess the point I'm really trying to get to back around is that it's no one else's business or what you do on your journey. But we do have a responsibility to each other and to humanity to be the most healed, authentic versions of ourselves. And if we can't do that, then we are actually causing harm. And you may not see it like that, but it's certainly true for myself, because I know that when I was in a place I was simply reacting all the time and not ever being calm enough to sit with something. I was just reactive and explosive, almost like just impulsive. And when you get to a part and you've done a lot of hard work and you've had a hard reset, then you realize that if you don't act in your most authentic self and your healed self, then you're not doing anyone around you any favors. Be the guiding light for people, but know that not every ship may see you. It may be too foggy for them, or it may just be part of their journey to go a different way. And we have to be okay with that. We have to understand that we can't get caught up in other people's journeys. We can't walk it for them. If I'm not freezing up again, you know, like sometimes I don't even understand. Look, I think there's so many people that are hurt. And in my last live, someone said, hurt people hurt people. And I don't like that. I don't like that saying, because I've used that in my lifetime. But I've been really hurt in my lifetime. I've been really hurt before. I think about all the times that I've been hurt through abusive relationships and through homelessness and addiction and so many things. And I've never chose to hurt someone just because I was hurt. It's a choice. It really is a choice. And if someone is seeing the hurt that they cause you and inflict upon your family and creating this chaos, if they see that and are still going down that road, it's okay for you to say, I love myself enough to remove myself from this. I didn't realize how glitchy the internet was, but I hope I'm not still freezing up. I think what happened was a lot of calls started coming in the minute I started reading this. And I want to go over this again because I do feel like it's the reason that I came live today to read this. So if y'all will just bear with me, do y'all want me to read this again or just post it later? Yes, okay. Okay, let me just read it, okay? Because I think that's one of the reasons that I came live today. And it's an important message, okay? So, in nature, every organism, whether a tree, a river, or a bird, plays a role by staying true to its essence. A tree grows based on the environment it's in, but it never tries to be anything other than a tree. It doesn't strive to be a flower or a rock. It simply grows into the best version of itself, rooted deeply into the truth of what it is. It doesn't rush its process, nor does it hide its flaws. It grows through the seasons. It's shedding, blooming, and regrowing, reminding us that healing is a continuous process. And each leaf that falls is a part of the natural cycle, contributing to the soil that nurtures the next generation. In the political realm, and as citizens of the earth, this analogy holds immense significance. Just as the tree cannot ignore its growth cycle, we as individuals cannot ignore the importance of emotional and psychological healing. When we're not our authentic selves, when we suppress our truth or carry unresolved trauma, it's as if we're trying to grow in a way that isn't natural. This leads to dysfunction, like a tree that's stunted because its roots aren't deep enough, or a river that's blocked by debris that can't flow freely. For this political climate and the current climate of the earth, authenticity is a foundation for healthy engagement. Politicians, citizens, businesses, and institutions that act from a place of truth and healing bring clarity and transparency to the systems. When we are authentic, we are in touch with our values, our struggles, and our aspirations. Just like a tree reaches for the sun in its own unique way, we too reach for a more just, inclusive, and compassionate society by being aligned with who we truly are. And on a larger scale, when individuals are not healing and are disconnected from their authentic selves, it creates a ripple effect of discord. In nature, if one part of the ecosystem is unhealthy, it affects the entire system. If citizens are disconnected or operating from a place of fear or trauma, it's like a society where people are playing roles, hiding their true selves, or operating from a divisive belief system. Healing, authenticity, and connection are vital for creating a harmonious environment, politically, socially, and personally. Ultimately, we need to recognize that the more healed and authentic we are, the more we contribute to a world that's balanced, equitable, and in tune with the collective needs. Just like nature works in balance, so too must our hearts, minds, and actions align with the greater whole. We should nurture ourselves, heal, and allow ourselves to grow into the most authentic version of who we are. For in doing so, we foster a world that is healthier, more harmonious, and more just. So part of that message is exactly what I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. The tree that's rotten, the tree that's injured by disease or injury, and we don't have to keep feeding that tree. We don't have to keep continuing to take from our saplings because they are trying to grow up and be strong. And nature has a beautiful way of speaking to me, and I try to listen to that, and I try to always think about how nature takes care of what might be problems, and nature is truth, right? Because they don't have, nature does not have any bias. It is just simply what it is. And I think that's something that we have to forget, everything that we've been taught to believe and everything that no longer serves us. I understand that there's a duality there and that we still have to operate into the systems in some part, right? But what I think I'm being told to do is to become the most self-sustaining person that I can be, and to keep telling this message, and to realize that there are cycles, and there is an ebb and a flow, and the most important thing that we can do is be present. And we operate on so many different levels, and there are so many layers. We are multifaceted beings and multidimensional beings, and we have to understand that sometimes just by being our true self in a moment can have an impact that we may not even be able to see in the moment, but it will create ripple effects throughout time and space. So that is just something that I wrote, that I woke up and had all this stuff on my mind, and I write things down as if I think that they're for the collective and for the group. And I haven't done a lot of videos recently. I still have things coming in, but there are things in life that can take so much energy away from you. And I have chosen to be present in those moments, but not to give more of myself than is absolutely necessary. And I think that's going to be important coming up. I want you, during this planetary alignment, February 28th is when we can see it the most clear from Earth. I want you to make an effort to go outside and to call your energy back. Just say, I'm calling back any power and energy that I may have unintentionally or unknowingly given away. I want to stand in my truest, highest self. That's all you have to say. There are no magic words for that. You can just call back your power. And I want you all to make a conscious effort for that. And don't be surprised if when you become more calm and more clear, that you can see chaos all around you. Look, it seems like everywhere I go now, I'm more aware of people just falling apart and feeling like the world is against us. And I'm here to tell you that I would not give you false hope to hang on to. I would not do that. I know as humans that we have the ability to be strong and to make it through any obstacle and any challenge that we face. I know that there's something deep down in each of us. And I'm going to say this, Luma Azarian, remember who you are. Remember that you are a powerful, sovereign being of this universe. And know that you have support and you have your ancestors and energy that are trying to help you. Remember who you are. It's time. So, nature is our great teacher, and I have sat with my pecan tree and the elderberry bush that she nestled into her root system. And we have some new trees coming onto our earth, and part of the things, we plant at least 20 trees every year somewhere. We gift trees, and we give trees. We plant them here on our land, and then we give them to others. Another thing that I need to tell y'all about is don't get caught up in the words. We often get lost in the weeds of words, right? Because we want to label and define things. Thank you for that. So I'm going a different direction now. The ancestors are pushing me this way. I'm just going to go with it. There are people here who have been diagnosed, who have been limited, and your power has been taken away from you through this code and this diagnosis. And I'm telling you right now that you can call that back. Tell the universe that you want that back. Okay? There's something I know for myself, and I'm going to share it with you today. That oftentimes when we don't understand what's happening to ourselves, we seek answers, right? But what the medical field does not know is that or they know, but they don't. I'm sorry, y'all. Their energy's here talking, saying, okay, this is important. So I'm going to tell y'all something. Somebody here needs to hear this. There have been numbers placed on you in a code, a diagnosis code. And these codes follow your name around. Once we get a diagnosis, then it is yours until you release it. Now, I'm not saying this is something I'm really careful to talk about, because I don't want you to think I'm saying that you've made yourself sick. I don't believe that at all. There are layers of a human existence. We have a spiritual, then an energetic, a cellular, and then a physical and mental level. All of those are different parts of us. Okay, so in this, I'm saying that when a number is placed on you or a diagnosis is placed on you, that's attached to your name. Okay, and you can get rid of that. You need to get rid of that code and that diagnosis, and know that just because there's something spiritual happening and it affects your physical doesn't mean they're intertwined. So let go of that if you're ready. I do not know. I don't understand what is happening today. Okay, so I've told y'all all about my diagnosis and of Shy-Drager syndrome or multisystem atrophy. And if any of you know what that is, it means that everything fails. Everything is not doing what it's supposed to do. And I remember that year after I came off of hospice and I didn't die. I don't know how I didn't die, but thank goodness I didn't. all the drugs that I was on. My goodness. So let me tell y'all something. The year after that, I started doing this deep dive about, like, I had worked previously in the health field, so I know that there are these codes that follows your name around everywhere. Everywhere you go, that's attached to you. And numbers are extremely important. I've told y'all before, but I'm saying this again. So don't let a diagnosis or a code define you. You are more than that. And that's why I guess the pecan tree brought through ancestors for that message. Okay, she's if y'all know, I've asked my pecan tree her name, and she said, I am too great to be named. So there's an important message here for you, that you need to understand. We get lost in words sometimes. We get lost in words, and we want to have a way to explain things that happen to our bodies and to our minds, and we seek answers. But I'm telling y'all today that every answer that you need is already within you. Every problem that arises, your body knows the answer. We have forgotten that. It's been taken away from us. And we have been interfered with on a very basic level with neurotoxins, plastics, endomorphs. There are just too many to name how we've been interfered with. And when you're in this collective, there may be some people saying that you're not trying hard enough to heal yourself. And that's silliness. That's nonsense. This is about unlearning. This is about unlearning the things that we were taught to believe. Okay, I'm sorry if I missed questions. So here's what I want to say. I am grateful. Hang on. I am grateful for y'all spending time and sharing space with me. And I know that these messages are important and hold gravity. And I need you to remember who you are and that you can choose this new way forward. You can choose it, and you can choose to let go of all the things that no longer serve you. There are people in this group, maybe more than one person. There are people in this group who have wanted answers about things that have happened to them, about things that they can't understand, about things that people have done to them. Learn what was meant to be learned from that lesson and move on. Know that sometimes our bodies and our minds and our energy and our cells even can be hanging on to a story and an explanation and a word that give your power away. When you put a word on something, You put a diagnosis, a word to something. Even a situation. Okay, this is for multiple people. Okay, so there have been things that have happened to you that you need answers for. You feel like justice hasn't been served and that you seek answers. Well, I'm going to tell you that answers are within. They're within you. And there may not be a clear answer that you feel like there are answers, but you're not satisfied with them, okay? Move past that. Move past that. It's time to let it go. Well, I don't know who. This is for several of y'all because there's different situations coming up. I do not know what's happening. Bessie is... Okay, I'm thinking, okay, listen. There were things that happened. Ooh. I'm sorry. Wait. I'm going to take you back to... This message is for everybody here. Whoa, okay. Sorry. Whoa. I've got chills up and down my body. It's a powerful message. Listen to me today. Whoa, goodness gracious. When I was 5 years old, I was on a family trip and I was left at a restaurant by myself. And I was there hundreds of miles away from home. This was before cell phones. And I was just there. And I have this memory of not understanding. And I still have that. I don't know where this is coming, okay? This is for somebody. I'm sharing this experience and it's raw. It is like, this happened to me when I was a child. I'm going to share it with you. And I have no understanding of it till this day. I still don't understand how I was left, how I was forgotten, and if it was on purpose or if it was done so something else could happen. I was left behind in a restaurant, and these men and this woman came, and I was undressed in a bathroom, and then this alien came in through the wall. And it's like all this stuff that when you were a kid, they would, if you told anybody this stuff now, they would struggle to understand or believe it. I'm telling you now, I believe your story. I know you. I know your heart. I know your heart. I know your truth. You have been seeking answers just like I have for this thing that happened to you when you were a child. And I remember asking my aunt, was I left on purpose? And she told me it didn't matter. It wasn't relevant to my story. It wasn't relevant to what was happening in the present moment. This is for y'all. This is for y'all. All of y'all. Your ancestors are saying that is in the past. Keep moving. Keep going. Keep pushing. You may not ever get the answers you're looking for. All the answers are within you. All the answers for every problem now on will be there. You're in control now. You have the power. I remember trying to tell my parents about that story, about the alien that came through the bathroom wall. And no one believed me. Maybe that's the last thing you're hanging on to that you can't heal. Okay. That's the last thing that you're hanging on to because you don't know why. You don't know what happened. Why? Know this, it's part of your story and your truth. And it's there for you to draw strength and reference from now on. You have that as a reference. You have that understanding. You know that you would never let that happen. Sometimes things happen in our life that we will never understand. Let go of it. It's time to move past that. It's time to finally let it go. I have had things happen to me in my own life that I have never shared with anyone. And yet here today, I'm sitting here with you, the friends that I've made through this collective, telling you because I know that happened to me. So I could be able to be in this moment, in this time and space, to share that message and that story. Synchronicity, alignment. It's okay. Look, we all have parts of ourselves. I'm talking about the most healed version of yourself, and there's still things that have happened to me in my lifetime that are raw touch points. And I don't understand them or know why they happen. But sometimes we don't need to know why. We know that they did happen. I believe you. We all deserve love and healing, but you have to do the hard work. And I think that message, that's part of a message, because that is still, like, look, a lot of the things that I can't discuss because I get really emotional, I try to keep it together for y'all. But a lot of the things that still make me cry are that experience when I was left hundreds of miles away from home, and all these strange people came to me, and it still feels really raw, and like it caused a lot of mistrust my entire life, like where I was terrified of being left in places. And another thing is like what happened in my death experience, and all the intricate details make me emotional in a different way. And then when I talk about my dad seeking that connection, and he was sending me signs, and I just was closed off to it. Those three things still make me rather emotional when I talk about them. And I'm going to tell y'all, call back that energy. Call that back to the inner child that is still within you and needs to be healed. When I think about being in that restaurant and then coming out of the restroom and not seeing my family, and then there's just this whole surrounding thing that I've never understood how that could happen. As a mother myself, I don't understand how it was left, or why it was left, or if it was done intentionally, or if it was done for that purpose so that I could be examined. Or there's so many unanswered questions around that whole situation. And I've come to this understanding that I don't need to know the specifics of it to move past it. It happened, and I know that I would never put my children in a situation like that. But I think it was done unintentionally. Like, now I think, I haven't asked my dad about it, but he did tell me as part of this trade-off, like part of a trade-off, that he had to, the things that he signed, he didn't fully understand. Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that. I've said that before. I am an ancient, so oh my gosh, Miss Joan, I love you. And I'm sorry. Look, there's a part of me that cries with you. And there's a part of me that feels what you feel. And as a mother now, I come to you and tell you I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your mother... I'm not saying that. I'm sorry. As a mother, I am sorry. You know, I told my son, my oldest son, he got a very different version of me as a mother and a parent. I was 19 years old when I had him. And now that I had Olive when I was 38, Mia when I was 28. Each of them got a very different version and a very different mom. And my own mother struggled with me. Our family historian and my aunt said that I was always too much for my mom. She never understood me, or never... Look, there's some hazy things that happened around my childhood, and being left was one of those things. But I just have to know that maybe I was being hidden, or maybe I don't know all the answers, but I just know that I have to understand that even parents make mistakes, and sometimes it's because we're doing the best that we can, and sometimes it's just because we have no idea what we're doing. There were ancestors here bringing this energy forward, all these different scenarios and situations. So this message is for y'all. Know that each of you are worthy of love. I've oftentimes thought that we choose our partners based on what we didn't get fulfilled as children. Like, I know that my husband now nurtures and cares for me in a way that my father couldn't, in a way that my mother couldn't. And well, that message, gosh, y'all get me. Hey, Brad. So, listen. I cannot get over that message. It's wild. All these ancestors coming through and encouraging us to heal the parts that we maybe push to the side sometimes because it's still raw. And every other part of us is healed, right? Like, we've worked hard on this healing, and then we still have these little blips and hiccups along the way that sometimes we seek answers for that we'll never get. But know that it's part of your story, and it can help heal other people. Gracious. Woo. Sometimes I never know what is going to come through these messages, but I always set the intention that I be guided in the most positive direction and the most healing direction. And I just have to go with what I'm given. And I guess that's part of the message today. That call back your power. Whatever happened to you, it wasn't your fault. It may have been written long before you even existed. It may be something that your great-grandparents unintentionally did. I think about the struggles of my father, and that balance of divine feminine and masculine right now is so important. I have been given the understanding that my dad wanted to support his family and be able to give his family a house and vacations every year. And when I think about my dad as a father, and I think about when he signed that contract at Lockheed, I know that he had only an understanding that it would be best for our family, and him not understanding the unintended impact that it would have on myself. I know that. And I know that there is a day where these corporations and these companies will be held accountable, and the truth will finally come out, and the truth is going to be too much for a lot of people. But knowing everything that you've been through, everything that you've endured, you're going to be okay. You were forced to grow up long before you should have. You were forced to take on things that no child should. I know it made you stronger, and I know it made you come to this point to know that sometimes nature does mess up, doesn't it? Sometimes it does. Sometimes the tree is stunted or diseased or injured, and it affects the whole ecosystem. So that's when we have to get to a place of balance and harmony. You were light and love and all of the things that they couldn't be. I told my 22-year-old son recently that I was sorry for his childhood and sorry for being too proud to ask for help. And, I remember that we spent about 9 months homeless in a car, and I drug him to gas stations and to parks, and I think about how unfair that was to him, and then how I drug him everywhere. And then I got involved in this relationship with a guy just so I would have somewhere to be. And then, I don't think sometimes we'll never hear I'm sorry from our parents. But I'm coming to you as a mother right now to tell you that sometimes we're not always able to see on earth what we can see when we pass away. At that exit interview of life, whenever you have that exit interview and you see your entire life and the big picture of things and not just the moment, you see that we're all human. We're all malleable and impressionable, and sometimes we just react, and sometimes we just live by the seat of our pants, and sometimes we're blown in different directions. And I oftentimes know as a parent that I have made mistakes, and I will continue to do so, because if we stop growing and stop learning, then we're dead. So there's always lessons to learn and always growth to do. Just like our trees, they don't ever stop growing. It's a cycle. It's a continuous cycle. And so if your parents have never come to you and healed that part of you that is still injured and wounded and still the last part that you're hanging on to, no. They're sorry. If they're still here and can't see, then they will one day. Or if they're already gone, they have seen. My dad never saw. He had this suspicion of things that were happening to me. But I never told him. Not after what happened to me when I was 5. Not after I was left hundreds of miles of home, away from home, and in this weird place. Like, I would never have went to them again with anything else after that situation. things happen in our lifetime, and it's not always for a great purpose. Like, I wrote this thing when I was on hospice about how much pain I was in mentally and physically and emotionally, and how I thought I had learned everything that I could from pain. And pain is a great teacher. But sometimes things don't serve a purpose. They don't serve our highest good. That's when we have to transmute those things. Oh my word, this message. Not everything that happens to us when we're a child comes. I'm just going to use the trees for this analogy. Think about being part of an ecosystem, and then you just sprout up one day and you look up and realize that you have to grow towards the sun. But then there's this diseased tree on your land and part of your ecosystem that drains the life and energy from every sapling on that land. That doesn't serve a purpose other than to doesn't serve a purpose. It's a product of its environment, and when we finally had enough, we can make everyone aware of that diseased tree and notify everyone that that's taking resources from our young saplings. And then we can choose as a collective to stop feeding that diseased tree and nourish our young ones. But until that awareness is made, nothing is done. Oh my gosh. I am sorry that your parents couldn't see or didn't believe, or I'm sorry that you didn't feel safe enough to tell them. If that's the last part of you that's raw, then let it go. The answer is that person couldn't see what that person can see now. Okay. I just want to sit with this energy for a minute and hold this time and space for you. And I want you to reflect on the things that I've said about nature and it being truth and the things that have happened to you. I want you to reflect on that. I'm going to be quiet for a minute. Reflect on that energy and just sit with it for a minute. And know that it's okay not to have answers, to let something go. All the rest of the answers, everything else is already within you. Everything else that you will need to know going forward is already within you. I'm holding time and space for you right now. The earth doesn't always understand what happens to her either. Call back your power. Call back your energy that you have given away or that maybe someone else has given away. And let go of those things, those last few things that have been with you that are still raw, not unhealed, not untouched, but still raw and unanswered. There's a time and a season for everything. Before spring arrives, I call all energy back to where it belongs. Too long there has been imbalance in this world. I call back for balance to be restored and your power to come back to you. And as you step into your true, authentic, healed self, your highest self, may you know what to do with your power and your gifts. Keep working, and if y'all need help, I'm here. But know that all the answers you seek from this moment on are already answered and within you. And within this web of consciousness and life itself. You are all worthy of unconditional love and healing. And I'm here for you. Milo, you can tell your mom that. You don't need anyone to speak to your ancestors. Create the reality that you want. Create the world that you want. Be the reality that you want. Create the world that you want. Be the change. And know that you've had the power all along. As children, we start out feeling powerless and lost. And then as we grow and change and life happens, sometimes we can get lost in that. Call back your power. This planetary alignment is the perfect time to do that. Call back your energy. Call back your perfect time to do that. Call back your energy. Call back your power that has been taken away or been given away. And know that you are a powerful creator. You were made to create. You were made to change the world. Each of you in here have faced difficulties and challenges and have overcome every single one of them, and you will continue to do so. But create the joy. Be the change that you want. We all have that power. Thank you for sharing time and space with me, and even allowing me to be so vulnerable and open about my own experiences without judgment, without questions. I appreciate y'all, and I thank you, each one of you, for sharing time and space with me. And I'm here if you need me. I truly, okay? I love y'all. Hey, did y'all, I forgot to tell y'all something about the Dalai Lama. He went to this pizza shop and asked the owner if he could make one with everything. If he could make him one with everything. Do y'all get that? I thought that was hilarious. Okay. I love y'all, and we'll talk soon, okay?